So we'll talk a little bit more about how the Raptors uh, will will win this game. They looked a little bit different against the the Spurs when they played the last time. So the last time they played the Spurs, they had a whole different roster. They had OG Anunoby, who forced the overtime actually back in November. They had Pascal Siakam. They had Dennis Schroeder and a whole bunch of other guys that were in the rotation that are not part of the team right now. And so again, it's a whole different lineup. And the reason why I'm covering it now because people like to look back and say, oh, you know how it was before, or the team against the team before previous matchups. We don't want to look at previous matchups anymore, okay? Because it's not gonna be the same this time around. We have RJ Barrett, we got IQ, Grady Dick is playing a little bit better off the bench. Scotty Barnes has more of a demanding role, or they're asking from him a lot. Jakob Portal has been playing well recently, and so we have guys like that, right? So it's going to look a little different for the Raptors. But what I want to look at here is just the general stats. So again, the key stats here for the Spurs are that they average 112 points per game. So they're not a high-powered offense, okay? And so the Raptors can capitalize on that in the sense of maybe they can shut down a few players here and there. We know when Wembanyama is going to probably, demand his for sure. He averages 20.3 points per game. He actually leads the team in scoring, okay, as a rookie, which is very impressive, especially for him, for all the pressure that he's had and for how bad the Spurs have been looking this season, even with him, right? So that means the players around him are not doing him any good. And I've watched a couple of games with Wembanyama. We'll talk more about him later, but so the 112 points per game is not that scary in terms of the Raptors can play good defense, and they're not a high-powered offense in that sense. They do get out on the break. They do get their shots off, set plays, but also off jump shots, similar to how the Raptors get theirs. And we'll look at stats and we'll look at their their video, the film, right? And then so the Raptors and the Spurs actually averaged the exact same amount of assists per game, which is surprising to me. Okay, so that's surprising to me, just because the Raptors were always said to have a really good assist game more recently, and they were up there and all that stuff. And so it's actually interesting to see that the team that they're facing tonight, which is not the greatest team, also has similar stats. Okay, um, and so let's continue looking at these stats as a team. Then we have I think this is the most important part. I'm looking at the Spurs are 30th in 3-point percentage. Okay, and when we look further into the details, you'll see why that's a good thing for the Raptors. Okay, Raptors are 22nd in 3-point percentage, not that much better, but they still do a better job than the Spurs. So maybe they can capitalize on that. Hopefully, they have a better shooting night. Gary Trent Jr. has been playing a lot better as a starter, and so we'll take a look at that. RJ Barrett has been the leading scorer for the Raptors, or I think they took also his stats from New York too. But Barnes' number is a little bit less than that. They're both averaging around 20 points per game, which is great for the Raptors. You have two guys that can pretty much combine for 40 points right there for you. And as long as both of them are playing, then that's a good sign, especially RJ Barrett, because he's been in and out of the lineup since his injury. Okay. Then we go into the opponent points per game. Okay. And I kind of messed that one up here, but this is the opponent points per game. The Spurs give up more points per game than the Raptors. Okay, so Raptors opponent points per game is 117.5, which gives the Spurs a little bit, of hope in that sense. All right, but to continue, so to just keep going here and see what exactly the Spurs have been able to do, and I'll take a look at key matchups and things like that. So let's start with first looking at the team shot chart. Okay, so both teams look different in terms of where they get majority of their points. So this for the Spurs, they actually are either they're right where the league average is in terms of the shots they get on the court, or they're way below average. Okay, and so you can see the numbers here. They just look, drastic in terms of the left hand side of the court, which is very interesting, right? So the Raptors, I guess, should be forcing the team to go left, right? And in contrast, the Raptors' left hand side of the court is actually way better than the league average. So the green indicates that they're above league average in that sense. So the Raptors are averaging right there in terms of between like 47% in total from the left hand side. Interestingly enough, they don't shoot that well from straight on. They're right at league average on the right hand side, just outside of that straight on three or straight on jumper from inside the 3 point line. And then they have this side of the floor where I think majority of it comes from Jakob Portal. So the right hand side of the floor is where Jakob Portal gets majority of his points, and inside as well, just along with Scotty Barnes. It's a little bit weaker in the corners there for the Raptors on the right hand side, and so we're just looking at the shot chart, how the Raptors have been getting their points. Again, this accounts for the whole season, and I know the roster is not the same this season, so it looks a little bit different. But I think that for majority of the second half of when we got rid of, or the Raptors got rid of all their key players from before, the shooting has been going up, I think, and so that's my opinion on that. And so the Raptors might sway this hopefully by the end of the season. And so and the Spurs haven't changed in terms of who their team roster and makeup is for the most part. And so we'll take a look more on about that. Before I get into Wembanyama and Scotty Barnes, the two top players for each team, I'm going to just look at the types of shots that each team gets. Okay. And I don't want to go back too far because obviously you want to get a better idea from the previous games. So the last 10 to 12 games that the Raptors have played in the last 10 to 12 games that the Spurs have played. And so that's where I want to just stick with. I don't want to go too far into the beginning of the year because obviously teams look a lot different now. Okay. So the first team that I'll start with is the San Antonio Spurs. And I'm going to start at a date specifically to January 17, around there. I think that's where both teams had around 12 to 14 games. So I want to just make sure that I just stick to that range. It makes more sense to me, at least, to have them there instead of going back too far. Okay. So let me just pull this up real quick and you'll get a better idea of what I mean. Okay. And these are just the makes. And the reason why I'm looking at just the makes, because this is where, they might be more of a threat. Okay. And so if we're taking a look at the makes here, and so I'm just going to share this tab instead. Okay. So some of the makes here that you guys can tell from this play here, and this is against the Celtics, so it's a good team to kind of gauge against the better teams. What do they do well, right? So this is still early on in the game, but like look at the movement here from the Spurs early on, and so they get everybody's on the outside, and if you notice the spacing on the floor, because Victor Wembanyama does a good job of spacing the floor as well himself, he's still a threat in the outside. He shoots his shots. It doesn't necessarily mean that he's doing a good job, but he spaces the floor nonetheless, right? And so if you look at the spacing on the floor, it's a 5-out basically, right? And that's a similar play that the Celtics run as well. So maybe they're trying to take a play out of their books, right? And so Victor Wembanyama comes out here, gets the ball to Trey Jones here, and sets a little bit of a pick. So a dribble handoff here, sets a little bit of a pick, and then he's going to hit Jeremy Sohan in the corner there as he's driving, because he knows he doesn't have an advantage on Jason Tatum, who's a taller player. But Sohan is out there. Luke Cornett is on him. That's not going to be much of a defensive job for Luke Cornett. And so I think Jeremy Sohan has a better shot here, and it's more of an open shot, okay? Let's look at another play here. So Jeremy Sohan just takes Luke Cornett one-on-one, gets the rebound, struggles to put it back. So their activity is really good, actually. The Spurs' activity is really good, and that's why they were able to take the Raptors to overtime while OG and Pascal Siakam were on the team. So look, this is one play that I think that the Raptors have to be careful of, because I think this is one of their go-to plays. So when Wembanyama um, starts all the way at the top of the key here, or not the key, sorry, beyond the 3-point line, gets the ball to Jeremy Sohan, and he gets so Wembanyama gets a pick here, back pick for Jeremy from Julian Champagny, sorry, and he's just gonna take a straight line to the basket, and that's what Wembanyama is gonna do here, and he's gonna get a nice alley oop from Jeremy Sohan, and so these are the types of plays that the the Spurs are going to probably run on the Raptors, and it's not going to be something that they'll struggle to get. I don't feel, because the Raptors, although they have Jakob Porto, who's probably going to be the primary defender, there's no other defender that can really stay with Wembanyama in that sense, or has the height ability. I mean, Scotty Barnes is there, but he's not really going to shut him down. Maybe he could use his body a little bit more, his strength, and that's what maybe you can bank on. And so let's run a little bit more, just get a better idea of what other plays that they run. And so here there's a double screen for Trey Jones, and Wembanyama just takes Al Horford one-on-one. This is the part of the game that Wembanyama has that the Raptors have to be careful of as well, because if he starts getting it going from out there, and he likes to shoot it when he's in rhythm, then he's gonna be a threat from the outside and the inside, right? And so I don't think the Spurs have yet to utilize him the best, but look at this rebound here. I mean, it's too easy for Wembanyama. So if the Raptors don't rebound, and they've struggled in that department the last couple of games, they just haven't been rebounding that well, especially allowing too many offensive rebounds. And then you got guys like Trey Jones there just blowing by players. And so again, they have different types of players that can do different things on the court for them, and they have a pretty good bench. Keldon Johnson coming off the bench, especially. I have to look back at the injury report closer to the game to see who's in and who's out, but it does make a difference who's in for them near the end of the games, right? Devin Vassell, who's not being shown here in these highlights, is another guy, right, that can hit shots, can create for himself, and maybe I want to look at where he's at, but obviously all eyes are going to be mostly on Wembanyama, right? It's going to be on him to see where he gets his shots and things like that, and the focus is going to be on him. I want to take a look at more of a recent game for the Spurs, just so that we can get another idea, okay, of how they run their games. The last game that they played against was the Brooklyn Nets, and so I'm just gonna quickly jump to that game. Sorry, it wasn't the Brooklyn Nets; it was the Chicago Bulls. So, and this is a play by Devin Vassell. So Devin Vassell. So we'll take a look at this one as well. So we go to the beginning of this play, right? And so we have Vassell is going to get the ball back here from Keldon Johnson, and what happens is Vassell does a great job of just beelining it to the basket, and he's quick, and he's improved in the department of being a threat in terms of shooting the ball, and that's why he's able to also get baskets like that. And then you have again Keldon Johnson, who's on and off. He can catch fire. He can be a guy that the Raptors have to be worried about. But again, the Raptors have to worry about the right hand side of the Spurs more so than they have to worry about the left hand side, which is interesting. And so maybe the Raptors can force them to the left side. And as you can see, even in this play, especially, Vassell just is on the right side. Wembanyama finding Sheedy Osman for a three here, gets the rebound. Things like that where they have their openings and they could take advantage of what they have there. But it's also they're relying on Victor Wembanyama's rebounding to get second chance shots. Okay, and so that's another thing. Let's take a look at the Raptors. Okay, so let's take a look at the Raptors. Um, their their shot chart. Let's take a look at what they do well. Okay, so I'm gonna go back here. looking at the Raptors, and I'm taking it back initially when they got Emmanuel quickly and RJ Barron. They were able to play in this game, and so I'm just gonna quickly take a look at this game here. And so this is back when they blew out Miami here, which was a great game for the Raptors altogether, and putting the Raptors together. So this Jakob Porto was also out, and so here you have the Raptors getting shots from IQ here in the corner, and IQ is a player that can hit his threes if he gets it going. He does. He is also on and off, but the good thing that he does too is he creates his own shot, similar to this play right here. Obviously, this was a goaltend, but the good thing is if the Raptors space the floor correctly, I know they have Jakob Porto, but if they have the spacing that they can get, and this is what I was talking about, the left hand side of the court and the corners here is where the Raptors are above average from the league and from the rest of the league. And so Gary Trent Jr., like I said as well earlier, that he's a guy that if he hits his shots and if he gets it going, then it's hard to stop him. And he's doing a good job of just spotting up, asking for the ball, getting to the spots that he needs to be in. And IQ is doing a good job, as well as RJ Barrett and Scotty Barnes, of finding guys. And this is the part of the game of Barrett that I like the most, him just attacking the basket. Okay. So you saw this play here where they move pretty quick. It's a dribble handoff, and RJ Barrett just goes straight to the basket. And this is a thing that the Raptors have to continue doing against the Spurs, especially against Wembanyama, who can be obviously he's a threat in terms of protecting the paint and shot blocking. So the Raptors really have to be able to attack the basket and at least find open guys in the corners or back up top, using the cuts, spacing the floor. I think even getting Wembanyama out of the paint would be really important if they can. The problem with that is that Jakob Porto is not a great shooter at all. So Raptors are going to struggle, I think, in that sense. They have to be careful of what they do in terms of spacing the floor. Coach Darko has to almost have a complete game in terms of, watching what each team does. Okay, so this was the game against Miami, and this is just an idea of how they were playing the last 12 to 14 games. Obviously, you see Schroeder there, who's no longer on the team, unfortunately. And so I'm just gonna jump to the more recent game here. And so, like I said here, you saw that the left-hand side of the floor is where the Raptors are above league average, and so that's kind of something to watch out for. I'm just going to look at the game here against Charlotte for the Raptors. I think the Raptors played, yeah, they played somebody else after this, but the team after this, it just they're not showing the stats here. But I'll take a look at what they're doing here, what they did here against Charlotte, specifically in the fourth, to catch up. And I think they got the win here. So spacing the floor, and look at this, creating open shots for guys, especially Scotty Barnes, to get going. Scotty Barnes was, I think, the last game he had a triple double. The game before that, he almost had a triple double. I don't know why this is not the last game. Sorry, guys. I'm looking at this. I'm like, this is not the last game that they played. But the idea is, I don't know why it's not giving me the last, the more previous, but I'll take a look at Scotty Barnes in general anyway. So let me just jump here straight to the matchups. Okay. So I'm looking at Wemby and Scotty Barnes. Okay. This is going to be the key matchup for both teams and what they're going to be able to do when the game starts. Right. So, I think with Wembanyama, it's going to be tough for the Raptors to defend. They have Jakob Porto. Again, like I said, I don't know if Scotty Barnes is going to be able to necessarily slow him down, but if he uses his body in terms of his strength and to try to push Wembanyama to the spots where he doesn't do that well and he's below league average. And as you can see, all the red for Wembanyama, that red area is where he's below league average. Okay, so as you can see here, that even up close, he's struggling as well. So I think because the focus, and you can double him more in the paint, and that's where the Raptors need to just push him to areas where you know he's going to struggle and you can double him easily. Interestingly enough, the left hand side, in comparison to the rest of the team, he's way better. But he doesn't shoot that many from that corner three, but he does good job. So the Raptors maybe just need to keep him away from that corner and not let him get there. But he doesn't operate there that often. He's usually within this range here, as you saw from the highlights, and you'll see more of this when I show specifically Wembanyama shots. And so just getting him to forcing him to the right as a right-handed shooter or player, it's harder to go right. It's easier to go left, and that's where you see the percentages for him go up a little bit more, but they're not that much better, which is interesting because I thought he would be better going left because it sets up your shot a lot better. Obviously, if you're a right-handed player and you go left. And then if you're looking at Scotty Barnes on this side, he's above average in a lot of areas, right? So for the Spurs, it's going to be difficult to kind of slow him down, and I think they're going to have Jeremy Sohan on him. Julian Champagnie is a little bit too small, so they're not gonna put him on Barnes, but they might. And then you got other guys coming off the bench. You might get Keldon Johnson maybe, but I don't think that will happen necessarily. They'll just switch off. Zach Collins is another guy that comes off the bench, but he's more of a Wembanyama replacement. So you'll have other guys that end up defending Barnes. But Barnes does a great job. If you look at this league average in terms of him against the league average, he's a lot better on the right-hand side, which is interesting because when I mentioned Wembanyama and his struggles on the right-hand side, Barnes is literally the complete opposite. And he does a decent job on the left-hand side from three, from just inside the three-point line. He's right on league average or close to league average in the corners there, but he does struggle from three in the corner, which is not something that's common in the NBA because NBA players love the corner threes. Okay, so let's take a look at the shot chart for Wembanyama specifically. We'll start with him, and then we'll take a look at Scotty Barnes. Okay, so we'll start with we'll start with what I want to do. Actually, I'll start with what when they played the Raptors early on. I think it was on November 5th, somewhere around there. But we'll do that first. And that'll be more interesting to see how they used to play him, and maybe they could take a page out of that playbook, possibly. And these are all the makes, right? And so it's good to look at the makes. I mean, obviously, it's good to look at the misses too to see what they did well initially. But let's take a look at this play here, where Wembanyama is right inside the 3-point line, a step inside the 3-point line. His range is pretty crazy. So, I mean, for him, that's right inside the 3-point line, a step inside because of his height, right? And they have OG Anunoby on him, way smaller defender. This was back when they had OG Anunoby on the team. And he was able to not really slow him down, but, I mean, force him to the tough shots, the contested shots. But Wembanyama was in the beginning of the season, he just looked like a different player. I think he started thinking a lot more. Here he hits a tough three and one. And I think more recently, obviously, all eyes are on him, and he's trying to maybe secure the Rookie of the Year, or there's conversations about that. But Wembanyama, look how much ground he covers. I just want to look. Let's look at that play again, because he just took one dribble and he was already in the paint. And so this is something that in transition, the Raptors don't want to be in the position here where they're stuck. Look where he picks up the ball, by the way. Not even at the free throw line, like just before the free throw line. And he just covers too much ground. So Raptors have to be worried about giving him too much space and not, pushing him out of the paint, giving him some contact here and there. They had Jakob Portal there on him. That wasn't a good matchup. I don't think Jakob will do a great job necessarily. He could be a better help defender, I think. So if I were the Raptors, or if I was Darko, I think I would start with Barnes on him and then have guys just rotate. I would even, to be honest, play a zone defense against Wembenyama, because and the Spurs in general, because they're literally 30th in 3-point shooting. Um, so let me just take a look at the shot here against these shots here against the more previous teams in the Brooklyn Nets, for example, and this was on Saturday, February the 10th. I just want to take a look at these plays here. So this is more recent. We get a better idea of how Wembanyama did against the Brooklyn Nets. Okay, and I know I'm jumping around here and there, but this is what literally just previewing is. Okay, um, uh, so let me just do this here. Um, just gonna get to his highlights here. All right, so Victor Wembanyama. Here's Nick Claxton on him, which is he's a good defender. He's mobile as well, but again, Wembanyama is just a different player. He's able to just rise up over the defender and get a shot up there. He has Ben Simmons here on him. He gets like a double pump shot. It's a fadeaway. These are all tough shots, but he's just capable of doing because he knows he has that height advantage. And look here, he's just taking Claxton one on one. It's just too easy for him against the bigger defender. He's too quick and he's too crafty for them. But against smaller defenders, and see, did you see what Ben Simmons there? He's just kind of like tried to bully him. I mean, it leaves him open eventually, but Ben Simmons, I think was a better defender on him overall than Nick Claxton was. But here again, just this is a deep three. You can't do anything about this when he starts shooting like that and starts making his buckets. And again, spacing the floor for his teammates. Look at this. Oh my God. Just his ability to do oh my, just when I was talking about Ben Simmons playing great defense on him. Just look at this movement here. He gets the ball there. Ben Simmons is thinking he's going to shoot it. Instead, gives a jab to the right, step back into a three there. I mean, he's just a difficult cover, I think, for any defender, for any team, for any small forward, power forward, center, guys like that. It's hard, man. It's hard to cover him. That's why he's able to hit his shots. But again, he's just a special player, and I'll just stop it there because there's a variety of things that he does that he does a good job of. I'm going to take a look at Scotty Barnes and his ability to hit shots and where he gets majority of his shots, and I want to look more so um, his more recent game against the I'll start with the Oklahoma City Thunder late in the game, and then going into the New Orleans Pelicans. Okay, but because he was the only guy as well in the against the Pelicans, he was the only guy that was really doing really well. And the rest of the team was terrible, especially in the first half. Um, so I'll take a look at this, or sorry, against Cleveland. So I'll take a look at the game against. I'll start with the game against Houston actually here, and then we'll go towards Cleveland more so, and then you'll get a better idea of how he does. So let me just jump to here. All right, so we have this is Scotty Barnes. They're at home playing against the Houston Rockets. They struggled in this game. They came back and won it, but this was tough. Scotty Barnes right here, just getting an easy putback. That was all set up by IQ. But then this is where Barnes is at his best, where he's able to bring the ball up, and you see how they're trying to set plays for him. This was supposed to be a screen. Barnes just goes away from the screen, and he had a good defender on him, a defender that's his size, Jabari Smith, but he was able to move away from him and get the shot. Here, Barnes does a good job of just being in position to rebound and getting put back. He needs to continue to do that. Just crash the boards. He'll have an opportunity. I know Victor Wembanyama might be there, but sometimes Wembanyama is all the way out somewhere else, and he's not looking for rebounding. So Barnes there is finding himself on the floor, and his improved 3-point shooting is something to talk about. Is especially to near the end of the season to see if he continues to shoot really well. And so again, Barnes just finding guys, and he's able to move without the ball and gets into position. They switched Jarrett Allen onto him, and he was still able to get a bucket. Here, he just again put back, being in position, playing good, playing well in terms of getting to the boards and not just settling or staying on the outside. Um, the Raptors struggled against Cleveland. You could see the score here, but Barnes was the only guy that kept the team in the game, and he was doing his best. And he's an all star, right? So he has to show up each and every game. He can't have a snooze game, right? He can't just be taking days off. And so that's why he was able to just do his thing against the Cleveland Cavaliers. But unfortunately, the Raptors were on a back to back, and the rest of the players, I don't know, they weren't present at all. Barnes just does a good job of trying to direct traffic to get himself an open layup. He's way quicker than Jarrett Allen, even though Jarrett Allen is a great defender or a good defender. But Barnes just does a better job here. Better offense beats better defense. Here, Barnes just bullies Evan Mobley and just gets the ball up and over him. And then again here, Barnes is just finding an opening, keeping the dribble alive, something that he's been improving on. I'd like to see him improve his dribbling as well throughout the rest of this season. But again, just going back to the shot chart here, I think if Barnes continues to get to his areas, and as you saw from those highlights, he's getting to his areas that he's doing well. He hits that corner three, and you saw him hit that corner three in those highlights. You saw him going to the left side and getting to the basket, and majority of his baskets that were in the inside were based on putback dunks, things like that. And so, I think the Raptors are they have an opportunity here against the Spurs to do something good. They just need to play great defense. They just need to make sure that they're spacing the floor, avoiding the Spurs hitting their shots, and they're not great at three. So again, just play zone defense in that sense. For me, I think that makes the most sense in terms of what the Raptors can do to slow Wembanyama and the Spurs down. Clog down onto Wembanyama, doubling him, forcing him into tough shots. Giving him a shove here and there won't hurt either. So I think that's something the Raptors can do, and I feel like if they do that, they'll have a great opportunity at they have a great opportunity at stopping the Spurs. And the Raptors need to get some reps in with their players. I think the X factor for both teams, the X factor is going to be, personally, I think it's who plays better off the bench. And so you have Grady Dick coming off the bench, and he's in 21 minutes. He's been averaging 21 minutes off the bench in the last 4 games. Okay, and so 12 points per game off the bench, and shooting 52.4% from three. And so this is something that the Raptors wanted from Grady Dick earlier in the season, didn't get it, and he's doing well now. I think because he's getting more time on the floor. Some of it is garbage minutes, but nonetheless, it's him developing. It's against NBA competition. He's a young guy, so he needs to get those reps in. On the flip side, for the Spurs, they got Keldon Johnson that the Raptors need to be worried about, and other guys coming off the bench, and also Devin Vassell and Victor Wembanyama, who's going to be the center of attention all the time. Anyways, so that's my preview for the Spurs versus the Raptors. Let me know what you guys think, and how they can get this win tonight. Do you even want them to get the win tonight? That's another question. But that's it from me. If you enjoyed this content, and if you're watching in from YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more Raptors content. I'm going to also be streaming the Raptors game tonight on Playback, and that's the platform I'm using right now that you're seeing on YouTube. Come on over to Playback. The link is in my bio on the channel. You'll see it there towards the Playback, and just hop on there and catch all the streams. The first 20 people to join the stream actually get League Pass access. You actually get to watch the game and talk about it in real time and chat. And so join me there. tonight and every night that the Raptors play. And I also stream, big games that the NBA has in store throughout the week when the Raptors are not playing. So check me out, nonetheless, for either one of those. That's it for me, and I'm just going to end the stream here.